begin, thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Amberly, for putting that link in the chat as well for login. So while everyone's getting logged in, let me give you a brief introduction. I went ahead and shut off my camera just because there's so many of us here. It's just one more thing for people to look at. Hopefully it doesn't make anyone uncomfortable. It's just, I try to minimize all the things you have to look at. If you're seeing Zoom as your full screen right now with no other windows, all you need to do is hit that escape button on your keyboard and it will minimize Zoom down to a separate window. And then you can open up in your browser your regent.instructure.com link. So while you're doing that, a brief introduction. As I said, my name is Erin. I'm a former college professor. I spent the past 9 years before ending in 2022, the 9 years prior to that, teaching English at the college level. Before that, I taught high school while adjuncting as well. And I have been a technology trainer and mentor at the college where I worked for a couple of years. And so that is what prompted me to join Canvas. After we switched over to Canvas, I just enjoyed training our faculty so much on Canvas that I decided to come work here. I live in Dallas, Fort Worth, but I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. So here's, again, our login instructions. So yours is going to be regent.instructure.com. Don't use those asterisks. You'll want to make sure that you are using Chrome, Firefox, or Edge. You'll not want to use Safari or any other sort of browser. I can't say Canvas doesn't work. It just doesn't work as well outside of those kind of 3 major browsers. So do make sure that you are using one of those if you can. Chrome tends to be the best in my experience, but I don't work for Google, so I'm not going to show any particular browser for you. So during our session today, we actually have a lot of ground to cover. We're going to be covering both content creation and creating course paces and modules. And so we're going to be going through a lot of material today, and some of it will be fast. It is okay to just watch today. It's fine if this is going fast for you, if hands-on practice time is challenging for you. We all know that not everyone learns in a 90-minute Zoom session. If they did, all of our jobs would be far easier, right? If we could just teach students in 90-minute blocks on Zoom and they would get it immediately, things would be much easier. But of course, that's not the way that people always learn. So it is totally okay if you don't know how to do everything I show you today after we finish. Come back and process. This is being recorded. Rachel will get a copy of this recording today, and so you can come back and watch it again later. It's okay to try some things and not others. The things that you're comfortable with or that you feel are relevant, go ahead and try them, and leave the others for another time. And then it's, of course, okay to try everything. Some people are, tech gurus and they love to try new things, and that is awesome too. You'll want to make sure that your chat settings are set to to either everyone or all panelists and attendees. If it's just set on something like hosts or hosts and co-hosts or host and panelists, what will happen is that I will see your question and others won't, which is fine because I can still answer it, but it won't make a lot of sense to anyone listening because they won't have seen your question to begin with. But feel free to use the chat. We have a pretty big group here, so it's probably best to keep our microphones off if we can help it. But if you do need to unmute and ask a question because, the chat is not going to be working properly for you or you don't really want to use it, that's okay too. It's just sometimes with bigger groups, it can be a little bit hard. So here's our agenda today. We are going to begin with content and the rich content editor, which is kind of one of the keys to Canvas. It is something that you are going to see all over Canvas. So we're going to talk about adding content, including announcements, discussions, and the syllabus. And we will also discuss how to embed different items within them, like images, media, links, files, and tools. After that, for the second half of our training, we're going to be talking about creating course flow through modules in Canvas, including how to add modules, rearrange content, the purpose of modules, prerequisites, locking, and requirements. The good news is that if you know modules and you know the rich content editor, you are more than halfway to understanding Canvas. These are 2 of the sort of unique features to Canvas, but they are sort of the cornerstones to the entire philosophy of how Canvas works for both instructors and students. So after you go through this information today, and once you feel comfortable with it, you are going to be well on your way to working on Canvas. I'm going to put 2 links in the chat for you. Both of these are resource documents. These are going to be FAQ type documents that are going to allow you to feel like, or to have like a notes sheet essentially. So one is on pages in the rich content editor. So you can see here, these are all FAQ hyperlinks. The second one that's in the chat is our modules document. So you should not need to stress about taking notes today, unless of course you want to, but both of these documents are available to you, and they're going to cover pretty much everything that we are covering today in our session as well. Okay, so our business items are pretty much out of the way now. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to be using a sandbox course that I have in your instance. You have, as Rachel indicated, a sandbox course of your own. If you are just getting logged into regent.instructure.com, you will click on the dashboard. The dashboard is going to show you all the courses that are available to you. I'll show you mine, but I'm probably going to have a lot more than you are. But you're looking for a course that says sandbox. If you've never opened up a sandbox course before, a sandbox it's what it sounds like. It's a place to play. It's a place to practice. It's never going to have students in it. It is essentially a course for you to try out new things, to test out features, and to make sure that you know how things work. So here's mine. It's still loading. I have a bunch of courses here. You may just have your one single course here, which is a sandbox, and that's the one you're going to want to work on today. When you open up your course, you're not going to see all the stuff that I'm seeing here, because I already have a course built out, but we are going to be working on that today. So chances are, if you are just opening your sandbox for the first time and you haven't worked on it before, you may just see a blank page that says something about modules and add a module. That is a perfectly okay place to start today. So we are going to talk about the rich content editor. And so, as I mentioned, you are going to see this all over Canvas. The rich content editor is wherever you are creating content in Canvas. So that could be when you're making an announcement, when you're making a discussion prompt, when you are putting instructions in for a quiz, when you are adding a quiz question. Students see the rich content editor if you give them a text entry assignment, or you give them an essay response in a quiz. So it is a very, very familiar thing. The most common usage for the rich content editor is actually what are called pages. Pages are basically like digital textbook pages, but it's content that you have created to provide students with some sort of information. So this could be everything from a set of directions, like here's this is pretty simple, right? Week 1 start here, due dates, syllabus, quiz, this is due this date, just a little informational page for my students. But it could be more robust. It could be some notes, right? Let's see what we have here. So here I have embedded some notes that students can respond. This is a Prezi that I embedded. But they can be far more involved than that. And we're going to talk about some different things that you can do with them today. So we're going to begin on pages. So if you're inside of your course, you're going to be navigating down for something called pages. This is the page index. It's where any pages that you have created are going to live. And it is okay if you don't have anything here yet. Sometimes when you open up pages, you will see a front page. That's what you're seeing here. I have set this as my front page, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means a little bit later. If for some reason, when you click on pages, you're seeing this here rather than an index of pages, you're just going to want to click on view all pages. So when it's empty, like I said, there's not much here, but we're going to begin by clicking on plus page and talk about how we can build this content for students. When you click on plus page, you are going to see the famous, I should say, rich content editor. This is it, folks. So this is where you build out a virtual textbook page. It is also the view you're going to get, as I said, when you go to create like an announcement. You'll notice this is pretty identical. And we talked about some other use cases, quiz directions, assignment directions, discussion prompts. The view is always the same. So we are going to learn how to use it through a page today, because as I said, it's one of the most common ways to use the rich content editor. So let's talk about what we're looking at. And I'm going to show you a slide. Nobody panic, because we're going to go through this slowly. but I just wanted to show you what all these things are. We're going to go through this a little bit more slowly, as I said, but we're going to go through what all of these things are and what they mean. But chances are, if you are familiar with using any sort of word processing program like Microsoft Word or Google Docs, you probably know what a lot of these tools mean already, or you're familiar with a menu like this. So it is designed to mimic that word processing experience that we're already familiar with. But we want to focus on creating really good, engaging content in Canvas. So we certainly can use it for text, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but you can also use it for a lot of really engaging content as well. So let's begin by talking about the menu bar, which is this section up here, where it says Edit, View, Insert, Format, Tools, and Table. You all are smart people. I'm sure you know how to open up a menu, but I did want to point out that for the most part, all of these shortcut items are available up here in the menu, and all of these menu items are pretty much available down here on these shortcuts. Just like that's also the case in, for instance, Microsoft Word or Google Docs, right? You have kind of your commonly used shortcut items on the bottom, and then you have a menu of items at the top. Now, there are a few things that live up in this menu that you can't get to from the shortcuts. So things like cut, copy, and paste, those can be done with keyboard shortcuts, but if you want to be able to click them, that is up here on Edit. Full screen can be accessed down here, as well as from the view. The HTML editor, Canvas has an HTML editor. The shortcut lives down here at the bottom. If you don't know HTML, do not panic. You will never need to click this, but if you do know HTML, you can edit that raw or that HTML here by just popping into it, and you can even switch to the raw HTML editor. The ability to insert these items is also available over here on the shortcut, so I'm going to skip those for now. One thing that is on the menu up here that is not down here in the shortcut is this horizontal line. It's not super exciting, but it is nice to have. So if you want to insert a horizontal line on your page, you can do that right here by clicking on horizontal line. Another thing that you can find up here that you will not find down here, so you'll see some text controls like font size and style, bold, underline, italic, different colors and highlights and superscript, but the font stays the same. There is no specific type of font to control down here, but if you like to experiment with different fonts, you can actually change them up through this menu. So this is the only place you can change the font is from Format, and then the menu, so you can see all of these different fonts. There's nothing super exciting here. Let's go ahead and use Architect's Daughter as a pretty unique font, so we'll go ahead and try that out. All right, tools, word count. Word count is also available down here. It's going to check it for you. And if you click on it, it'll even give you things like character count if you want. And then the ability to draw a table is here. One other item that is up here that is just a little easier to get to, in my opinion, than trying to do it down here is the table properties. And we'll talk about tables in a minute. So that is just this quick little menu bar. Next, we'll talk about those shortcuts. And again, these are probably things you're already familiar with, right? So this drop down will change the font size. So if you want it bigger, or you want it smaller, you can control that here. Style is right here. You can see that it defaults to paragraph. If you've not done any sort of training on accessibility, you might not know that it is really important to indicate what type of text this is. So if it's not just paragraph text, if it is like some sort of heading like you have here, it's important for our screen readers that we indicate that that is a heading. And these go sequentially, heading 2, 3, and 4. If you're wondering where is heading 1, heading 1 is always going to be your page title up here. Over here, here's your bold, italic, underline, color. You have these sort of default colors here, but you can also go to this palette and have a color picker or enter in hex code or RGB values and change that color. Here is your highlight if you want to highlight any text. Again, these are your options, but you also have this color picker for that. as well. We have some page formatting tools. We're going to come back to these middle ones in a second, but your page formatting is going to be over here. Mine, I have to expand the menu using these 3 dots. Depending on how big your screen is, you may just see them up here without having to click on the dots. But if you don't see these items automatically, then just look for those 3 dots to click on and expand it. So here's going to be your left align, center align, and right align for your text. Here is your bullet points or numbering system. Here is your indent tool. This one is a eraser. So it basically removes any sort of formatting that you had previously done. So you saw that that font disappeared. So if you ever need to reset, or if you're trying to figure out what formatting did I do to make it look weird, you can just go in and reset it. So those are our page formatting tools. Nothing too scary yet, right? Like this is pretty much, pretty basic so far. So let's take a moment and practice. So inside your page, so once again, you will have clicked on pages. From pages, if you need to, you'll click on view all pages, but you're looking for this plus page button. Give it a name. Doesn't matter because we're just practicing today, and just practice adding some text. And it doesn't matter what text you add, but just play around with maybe font size, style, different types. If you want to change the font, you would do that through the formatting menu. And let's just get comfortable with adding text. And whenever we're done, we're just going to hit save. And actually, come to think of it, let's not hit save. Let's just stay where we are because we're going to be adding some more things. If you happen to hit save, as I just did, you can come back to it by clicking edit. So let's take a moment and try that. If you have any questions that come up about adding text, go ahead and put that in the chat. I'm going to count this or count down using this really cool puppy dog timer. And if that's just to give us a guideline for this activity, I'll also launch a poll so you can let me know when you're ready to move on, so that if people are able to move on before that 5-minute mark, we can always move a little faster. We can move more slowly as well if folks need more time.
Hello, Aaron.
Yes.
Hi, this is Darwin Mills. Quick question. I'm trying to remember for like grammar and spell check, that's sort of like automatically done now, more like Word than when Blackboard, it used to have like that ABC button to do that.
Correct. Now, I'm not sure if the grammar is in there. I would have to try it. I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's a grammar checker, but the spell check should just underline with like those squiggly lines the same way that, anything else does. But there is no like button for spell check or grammar check. If that, I'm familiar with Blackboard as well, and there's nothing like that in Canvas.
Thank you.
Sure, of course.
Hi, Erin. This is Shannon.
Hi, Shannon.
I am on inside the pages list, and it has some pages already created for us, like about your instructor, course overview and materials, and things like that that we typically use. But I cannot find the add pages button. Where would I locate that?
Okay, so let's go back. So are you looking at a list of pages that looks kind of like this?
Yes.
Look for, is there a plus page button in the top right of that this?
Oh, that's maybe why I can't see it. There's a pages course, create interactive course content.
Oh, it's like a pop-up probably, right?
Yeah, so if I hit don't show me again, maybe I'll find it.
Yeah, or you can just close it. If you want to see it again sometime, it'll come back, but you can just close it out and then you should see it. Great suggestion, because yes, the first time you open your Canvas course, you're going to get all kinds of pop-ups like welcome to Canvas. They're like little tutorials. And so that might be covering up some of those options, including that plus page. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Now I see it. Appreciate it.
Sure. A couple of questions that came in the chat. Heather asked, do we need to do anything about this option section? I'm going to go over this. Short answer is no, but I'm going to go over this in a moment. So for right now, you can just ignore that. And then Janice asked, can you type material in Word and then copy and paste? And yes, you can.
One of the questions that we get a lot is whether or not it will strip the formatting if you copy from Word into the rich content editor.
So it shouldn't. Let me test that real quick. So let's see. I think it may change some fonts, like, you know, if you are bringing over a font that doesn't exist in Canvas, like that might change, but let's see if it's going to change anything. So I'm going to go into my Word and I'm going to copy and see. Okay, yes, it did. So for me, it did take out that formatting when you copied it over from Word. I have heard that that is a requested feature, just so you know, that test Word content that I know you couldn't see my Word screen, but I had made it in red and a little bit bigger. I think the reason that Canvas strips it is because they are trying to make sure that you are coding it properly for like accessibility, for instance, bringing over, you know, whether it's a particular style, but I do know that it is a requested feature to bring over that formatted content. And so I know that that is something that has been requested and maybe worked on right now.
I think one of the problems that we've had in the past is about like the indentations and stuff. Like people write like a whole 3-page document and they'll copy paste it, and then all of the indents and spaces and everything are all gone. Correct.
And you're right. And part of that is that, you know, and I don't know the computery answer for this, but it's not the same screen, right? So like an indent in Word is going to look different than an indent in Canvas anyway. So you are going to want to, you know, just be aware of that when you bring it over. However, if you have a Word document already created, you can actually just put that right in here. And we're going to go over that in a minute, so that if you have a ton of formatted Word documents, you don't have to reinvent the wheel in putting them into a Canvas page. So we're going to cover that as well.
Hi, Aaron. This is Paul Carr. I have a question. I'm in the sandbox in Pages, and I can't even get to where you are.
Okay. So when you click on Pages, do you see this kind of list of pages here that might be, I know we mentioned earlier, there's maybe some that came over like as your sort of part of your template. Do you see pages here when you click on, like we click on
yes.
this, see a view like this?
Yes, I did, but now I don't see that.
Okay, well, let's try again. Just don't worry about it. Wherever you are, just go over to this menu on the left inside your course and click on Pages.
Okay, that disappeared actually.
Oh, your Pages link disappeared?
Yes.
Okay, I would go back to your dashboard. I'm not sure why that would have happened, but go back to your dashboard and click on your so you'll return to a view that looks kind of like this. Click on your sandbox again, then look for Pages. Maybe you popped out of that into another course or something, or if you hit student view, you might be in student view currently. So let's just kind of go back to the dashboard and try to get back into your course, and let me know if that works.
Okay, it reads access denied.
Oh, okay. You are probably in student view. Do you see any sort of like pink bar around your screen? Something that looks like, hold on one sec. Usually when that happens, you've accidentally hit student view. And so yes, you're in student view. And so you just need to leave student view. Sorry, mine is taking forever to load, but I'll kind of show you what that might look like. So if you are in student view, you'll know you're in there because you will get a little pink frame around it. And sometimes that is what will make it disappear on the left, because you're experiencing the course as a student. So it's not going to let you actually make anything.
Okay, how do I ditch the student view? Just go to account.
Are you seeing this pink bar at the bottom that says like you're currently in student view?
I do.
Click on leave student view.
Done. Dashboard.
Okay. Yay. Okay, go back into your course. Good news is you found student view. So that's
student view.
You found student view. If anybody, student view is actually a terrific feature if you go into it intentionally, not accidentally. But Student View is going to let you experience your course as a student at any point. So it's actually a really great feature, but certainly not when we're trying to build our content. So
Sweet. Okay, I hit pages. I'm back into a welcome to your Canvas Sandbox course shell.
okay, good. So when you click on pages, do you see this plus pages
I do
or
not.
plus page?
No,
Okay, do you see a little like pop up here that's like giving you some sort of instructions on creating a page?
I do not.
Okay, so double check, click pages again, make sure you're in pages. You might need to click on view all pages if you see this little icon. And then,
I do see that.
okay, click on view all pages, and then you should be able to see this, a similar view to this with this plus page button.
Okay, about your instructor course overview of materials, module 1 overview, wrap up overview, wrap up looking ahead, study, welcome, front page.
So those are all your pages. So those are pages you already have. So we're going to practice making a new one. So do you see a little blue button over here?
Yes, it just came up.
Perfect. Click on that. And
I'm
then
there.
perfect. Now you should see this view. So this is how you'd create a new one. It sounds like you already have some pages in your course, which is cool.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about how to build them from scratch today.
All right, sweet. Thank you. You got me there.
No problem.
Nicely done.
No problem.
You should consider doing this for a living.
Yeah, that's what I'm told.
Thank you.
Hey, Aaron,
Yes.
this is Nick Bodis. I just tried everything you did. I was in student view also. but
Oh, okay.
I can't seem to get out of student view.
Okay, you should see a button at the bottom. So when you're in student view, you should see a little at the bottom where it's in pink. There should be a button that says leave student view.
Okay, I have that.
Click on it, and then that will take you out of student view.
And I go back up to the upper right-hand corner, it still says student view.
No, well, that's because that's how you get into student view, is from that button that says student view. So just don't click the button right now. So you want to leave student view so that you get rid of this pink frame,
Okay,
and then just leave that student view button alone that's in the top right.
even though it says student view, okay.
Correct, because that's how you would get into student view if you wanted to be, but we don't want to be in student view right now.
Then I click pages.
Uh-huh.
And I click pages. And all I have is overview. And the next line down, the helpful resources,
Mm-hmm.
Regent University IT help desk.
So those are all pages that you already have. So look for this plus page button in the top right. That looks like this. It's in dark blue.
All I have in the upper pages is dark green, the check marks is published.
Right. So the green mark. So do you have a view like this where you're seeing a bunch of page titles and dates and
No.
then green check marks?
No, I sure don't.
Okay. I don't know. I would have to look.
Canvas Sandbox course shell, that's all I have.
Okay. So click on pages. You might need to click on view all pages here.
Where? Okay.
So if you see view all pages, and then hopefully you will see this plus page button.
Let's see. Create interactive course content.
Yeah, that might be just your little tutorial. You might need to close that out. If it's like a little pop-up over here that's like
Plus,
how to make a page, you might need to close it out in order to see this button.
okay, I hit plus pages and I have it looks like, kind of looks like that.
Yep, that's exactly where we want to be. So just go ahead and add some text in
Okay.
there.
I don't have all those pages that you had before though.
No, you shouldn't, because I copied over a previous course that I had, so you won't have all those pages.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, looks like more than 2/3 of us are ready to move on, or close to 2/3 of us are ready to move on. So a couple other questions. Deanna asked, what is the default font in Canvas called? I believe that is Lato, L-A-T-O. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what the default font is. The one that when you just start typing in here, that's just the font that you have. So that's some trivia for my font people. All right. So hopefully I think we got most people here to where we're at pages and we have a page title. And so we just typed in some words here. Doesn't matter because we're just practicing today. So hopefully this far we've gotten to the point where we know how to add words, right? And that's fine. This is going to get you most of the way. To be perfectly honest with you, the last time I taught a course, most of my pages just had words in them because we teach higher ed and we don't necessarily need to create as much media and imagery for our students. It doesn't mean we shouldn't or that it isn't helpful, but we just don't need it as much as, say, a second grade teacher, right? So here's where I might put my lecture notes, right? I might say something like, welcome to Unit 1, and, in this unit, we will explore the foundations of argumentative writing or something like that, or persuasive writing. And then I would just go on and, give my lecture. So I can certainly do that, okay? But let's talk about some other things that we can do here as well. And so we can also add some of these items here. And the first one I'm going to talk about is a link. So if you are on your page that you opened up here, you should see a little button. It's about halfway through this bar, and it looks like a little link. When you click on it, you're going to see that you have two options for adding a link. You can add an external link, right? So if you need help, visit the online writing lab, okay? And so what I would do here is I would highlight this, I would go to a link, I would choose external link, and then I would type in a link. So I'm going to use the Purdue OWL, which is owl.purdue.edu. So that's just an external link, right? You click on some text, click on the link, click on external link, and you put in a working URL, whatever that is. So you could say, Regent University homepage, and then you could link it. So that's handy, right? But we can do that in Microsoft Word. So that's not super exciting. One of my favorite features, though, of this link option is that you can also link to something in your course. So for example, let's say this was not Unit 1. Let's say this was Unit 2, right? And I wanted to say something like, in our last unit, we discussed effective rhetorical techniques. And I wanted to remind students, where is that last unit? Because, and I don't know, maybe Regent University students are different, but when I say something like that, there's a good proportion of my students who will go, I don't remember that, even though we did it like literally 2 days ago. And so you can link this for them to something else in your course. So now you're not going to be able to do this right now because you don't have a lot of content in your course, but I'm just demonstrating for you. If I was building out the page for Unit 2 and I already had notes for Unit 1, I can go over here to course link. And then it's going to give me the option to link any other page that I have created, any assignment, any quiz, any announcement, any discussion, any module. Modules are like units. So if I wanted to just link all of week 1, for example, I could do that. And anything on the course navigation. Course navigation is over here. So if I wanted to say something like, check your grades for feedback, I could click on grades. I could then click on the link, course link, and choose grades. And then they would be linked to the grades page in their Canvas course. It would take them right here. Now, yes, certainly they can go back and find our last unit. They can click on grades themselves, right? And so, we don't need to necessarily link absolutely everything for them, right? Because they are in college, so they should be, resourceful in some cases. But there are times where we do. We want to head off those questions, right? Or maybe I wanted to point out, check your grades for feedback on Essay 1 before you begin Essay 2. And I'm reminding them where that information lives. This is going to be especially important at the beginning of your Canvas transition when your students are also transitioning to Canvas. So, after a couple of years, hopefully they know how to find grades. But linking things here to other places in the course is going to just be helpful to them. And it's going to do what one of my department chairs told me is the #1 goal of online teaching, which is to avoid unnecessary emails. So this is just going to help you. So I really like this link option. You certainly don't need to link anything, but if you wanted to, you can link either externally or internally in Canvas. You can also bring in images. So if we click on this little image icon, you will see you have 3 options. You can upload an image from your computer. You also see course images and user images. Course images would be if you have already uploaded an image, the same image elsewhere in this course. So let's say in Unit 1, you uploaded this particular image and I don't even know what this is, but let's pretend so let's say I had previously uploaded that image somewhere else. I could come in here to course images and it'll show me any images that I have already used in this course so that I don't need to upload it again. User images are going to be ones that I have stored in my personal files under account. You probably don't have user images right now, but you have your own kind of little cloud storage here under your account files. And so if you had stored something there that you maybe use again and again and again, you can go ahead and grab that. It'll take a minute for mine. My instance is a little slow because I'm in a lot of people's, a lot of different universities training courses. And so mine runs a little bit more slowly than other people's. There we go. So files is where you would use like if you had stuff you wanted to store just in kind of cloud storage here, that's what users images are. On upload image, you would just grab something from your computer. So if you had something that you wanted to add, here's a Star Wars resistance symbol that I have living on my computer. I can just go ahead and select that and add it. I can also add things from a URL. So for example, here is a picture of a Canvas's panda. Let me show it to you. There it is. This is the URL for that. So I can then come in here and paste that URL. We always want to make sure that we are including alt text when we include an image. Alt text is what is used by screen readers to describe the content of the image. So when you have users who are visually impaired using a screen reader, they know what they're looking at. So my alt text would just be like kicking panda. You'll see that I have the option to either embed the image or display it as a text link. Embedding the image is going to put it directly in my page, whereas a text link is just going to link to the image, kicking panda, and then my students would be able to click on that and then see an image of the kicking panda. You can also control the size of any of these images, especially when you're bringing in images from your computer. You'll notice that a lot of them are really large. So you just need to click on that. If you, for example, my panda was really big, right? So let me bring him in again. Okay, so my panda is really big, probably too big, right? That's like distractingly big. So what I'm going to do is click on image options. And then down here where it says size, custom is just whatever size the image is. When it lived on your computer, whatever size it was. But you can change that. So you can manually change it by pixels or percentage. So if I know, so let's say I know that I want this to be at 25% of its current size, I can do that. But I can also just choose some default sizes, small, medium, and large, and it'll show you the pixel dimensions for that. So that will help you control that size. You can also resize it by dragging these corners. Canvas is always going to preserve the aspect ratio, so you're not going to be able to have those, or not, you're not going to have the problem of those stretched out images because Canvas won't let you change the proportions of the image. So you can embed as many as you like. It's also helpful, to space these out, right? And not just gather our images around. So you can move them around. You can move these images however you like, just dragging and dropping them wherever you want to put them. That's a weird place to put it. Let's put it up here. Okay. So those are images and links. And then you are going to go to the next option that you have here is the ability to upload or record media. So a moment ago, we talked about how to upload an image, right, from our computer or from our course. Media is going to include those audio and video files. So upload or record media. So let's say I have a video already of this lecture that I want to show my students. I have one that lives here on my computer, so let me find it to show you. Okay, this is one of my famous pandemic era videos that we probably all have, right? So I'm going to upload my video here, Unit 1 notes. I can also add closed captions and subtitles. It's not going to do it for me automatically. Now Studio will, which is Canvas's in-house recording that you all have, and that's a training for another day. But if you have a video that already lives on your computer and you have a caption file for it, you can upload an SRT or WebVTT file to go with it. Hit submit, and then I've now embedded my video here on this page as well, so students can just play it.
Hi everyone, Professor Mahoney Ross here, and I am going to walk you through the very first lesson in our
really brilliant filmmaking there. Okay. Another cool thing that you can do is you can record directly from here. You're actually probably going to want to do this in Studio most of the time, but if you wanted to just really quickly record like some audio comments, for example, you could go to Upload Record Media, click on this record option. You have to allow it to use your camera and microphone. You're going to see me here in a minute. There I am. I can also start recording from here. You can see my dog there too. Okay, so hi everyone. Here are your instructions for Unit 1. Finish. Oh, it always grabs the cutest picture, doesn't it? Okay, Unit 1 notes, save media. But I can also do it as audio only. So if I don't want my Chihuahua in the background, I can go to Upload Record Media, record, turn off my webcam to no video. Hi everyone, these are your instructions for your Unit 1 notes. Finish. I like to always give these file names because now I have them living in my Canvas account. So if I want to find them again and reuse them, it's just helpful to have a name on it. So then it will embed as an audio file. It does take a minute sometimes when it's being recorded. Okay, so we talked about media. The last thing I want to show you, actually, a couple more things I want to show you that are cool. So we've talked about how to add links. We've talked about how to add images. We have talked about how to add media that has been pre-recorded or to record the media directly there. There's my audio. Hi everyone, these are your instructions for, so you'll notice it's just the same thing. It just runs without the picture. A moment ago, we were talking about those Word documents and how you might have a Word document with a lot of formatting that you want to preserve and you don't want to have to, correct all of the indentation and everything else in Canvas. And so you can also upload documents directly here. So you'll notice that this icon allows you to upload a document, or again, if that document has already been uploaded elsewhere in your course, you can go and find it. So if I have previously uploaded a document, you can see here I have a document on how to view peer editors' comments. I have a document on, what is this? Midterm practice. I have some articles. I have an annotated bibliography rubric. So I have all kinds of stuff that's already lived in my course because I've put it in another unit. But I can also upload it. So if I have that Word document already, I can come in here and go and find it. So where are my documents? Let's grab something. I don't even know what this is. Okay, here, this is a PowerPoint on attribution and quotes. So you can embed PowerPoints as well, or slides. When you embed a document, you also have the option to disable the preview, preview it in overlay, or preview inline. Disabling the preview means that the student would click on it and they would get to a new page to see it. Preview and overlay means that they would click on it. I'll show you. They would click on it and then it would display in an overlay. So this is that PowerPoint. So it's an overlay in Canvas and then they would click close. So that's what overlay looks like. The last option that you have is to preview it inline. Preview it inline will expand it underneath when they click on it. And you can also choose to expand by default if you want to. Expand by default means they don't click on it, they just see it. That's what this would be. All of these options are just things you want to consider based on your students' bandwidth, the amount of images and content you already have on the page. So it's just totally up to you. Canvas will default to preview and overlay, just so you know. But you can embed PowerPoints, you can embed Word documents. Let's find a Word document. So again, preview, inline, preview and overlay. Here's what a Word document looks like. So you can see there. And then students always get with files, they get this little icon here that they can use to download that as well. Okay. I know we are going through a lot of stuff here. Remember, you don't have to add all of these things. These are all just options. You can have pages that are just text or just text and an image. Linda asked a great question. Which view do I find that students prefer? Students prefer to do the least amount of work possible. So maybe your students don't, mine do. And so they like preview inline. So, you know, you will want to, though, consider whether they have like the bandwidth for that. You know, where I taught, you know, you will want to, where I taught, we had some students who lived way out in the country here outside Fort Worth, and they had kind of poor internet. And so displaying below, I would just always give them some sort of instructions. Like if this was going to expand inline, I might say something like, you know, if you can't see the document below, click on the download link arrow to download it to your computer or something like that. So, and if you have a lot of content, like if you're going to have a ton of like 3 or 4 different videos plus documents plus images, you know, having all of those expanded is going to be a lot, especially when students are accessing your courses on their mobile devices. And whether you want them to or not, they absolutely are going to access your courses on their mobile devices. So just be aware of that. Personally, I like to break up my pages into, or to break up my modules, which we'll talk about shortly, into like smaller chunks rather than putting like every little bit of instruction for one unit elsewhere. Okay, so continuing on, some other stuff that you can do here. Here is your, right here, this is your Panopto. So this is, I can't open Panopto because I don't belong to your account, but this is your link to Panopto where your Panopto videos should live. This little plug is also a link to Panopto if you go to view all. And then you will see all the apps that are connected to your account. So if you wanted to record a studio video, there's a question in the chat about, you know, how would you get to the studio recording? And so this is how you would do it. Again, you all don't know how to use Studio yet, so I don't want anyone to feel like you need to know how to do this right now. But if you wanted to record in Studio, which is Canvas's more advanced recording feature, you would just click on View All, you would choose Studio, and then if you had recordings in here, you would add them, or you would go ahead and record right from here. So that is how you would get to Studio. And all your other stuff is here too. So it looks like you have both Google and Office 365 connected here. So if you have a Google Doc that you want to embed, rather than trying to download it from Google and then re-upload it as a document, just go to View All, select Google. I don't know if it's going to let me log into Google. I'll try to authorize it. I don't have an account through your instance, so sometimes this part doesn't work, but you would log into your Google if it's not the one that's connected to your Canvas instance, and then it would allow you to choose one of your Google Docs so that you don't need to, you know, yeah, see, it's not going to let me because I don't have a Google account for you. Also, same thing with Microsoft. You could go to View All, Office 365, authorize your Office 365 account, and be able to grab any of your Office content that you need. Those are what are called LTI tools. So they are tools that are external to Canvas that are part of your Canvas instance. All right. So those are all of our tools. The last thing I want to show you is just the ability to add a table and equations. So you would go to Table, this little icon, and then you can draw your table however you like it. You can add and delete rows. You can also click on this icon for your table properties, or you can also just go up to table and then table properties to get to those table properties. For my math folks, this is your equation editor. So if you need to add equations in here, these are all of your options, and you can also directly edit the LaTeX code from here. This last one is your embed code. So if you had, let's say, a video or a simulation or something like that that has a embed code, I'm just going to pull up, this is University of Colorado Boulder's embed or a simulation site. And so anywhere any external site where you see this option, this is called an embed code, and you can also put embed codes into your Canvas pages. So that just looks like that, and it's just going to allow them to be, you know, to interact with that option, with that content directly from this page. Down here, you're going to see a few other options. We're going to talk about those in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and give you some time. We're actually going to try, we really want to get to modules. So let's just do all of this kind of, we're going to add some content. So we previously added text to our page. So we were on pages plus page, and we added some text. I would like you to try adding one of these other things. Add an external or a course link, add an image, add a media file, add a document, add a table, add an equation, or add some embed code. Just choose one of those for right now to add to your page so that you know how. If we have more time in that 5 minutes, try another type, no big deal. Feel free to ask questions. We do need to make sure that we are moving along fairly quickly, only because we still do need to get to the modules part of our training. And so I don't want you to miss that part. So, you know, we will do our best to try to answer questions. If not, we may need to circle back to some questions later on. But I'm going to go ahead and start that timer and the poll. You let me know when you're ready to move on. All right, folks, how are we doing? A couple questions that came up in the chat. Heather asked, can you change the size of your embedded video? Yes, you can just, so when you embed a video like this one, and you go to video options, you can choose a different size. So you can see that mine embedded is large. If you want your videos to be the same size, I would just choose one of the preset sizes for each one. So medium, large, extra large. You can also do custom, just like we could with our images, where we could do like, you know, again, 400 by 225. And then you can also drag and drop the corners of it to make it a different size. I always like to use the default sizes whenever possible, only because sometimes on different browsers, when we're dragging and dropping to change the size and the pixels, sometimes on different size screens, they can change the size unexpectedly. So it's just a little bit easier. Linda asked, can you copy and paste an image that is already in a Word document? I believe you can. Let me try that real quick. I am going to grab an image and put it in a Word document and copy it, and let's see if it shows up.
Hey, Erin, this is Heather.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, just real quick on one of the videos, the video options comes up, but on a separate video that I embedded, that video option doesn't come up. If I click on the video, it just starts playing.
That's strange. Did you embed it like as an external tool, like a Panopto or something?
No, I just did the I used a little cloud in the embed code.
The embed code. Yeah, if you're embedding, let's go down to my embedded option here. So if you're embedding, you don't get all those little options. So
so it stays that big size then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So because the size is in the embed code. See how like in mine is with
gotcha.
800. So you could change and manipulate the embed code to change the size. But when you're embedding using the embed code versus like the, file, the media
Right.
uploader, you're just not going to get the options in Canvas. I hope that makes
Okay.
sense.
Thank you.
Sure. Linda asked about copying and pasting from a Word document. This specialized training image came from a Word document. So yeah, you can just copy and paste it. Then you get the same image options. Good question. Okay, I wanted to talk about the accessibility checker. Darwin had asked about that, and we're going to practice this in a second. So you might have noticed as you added content, you might have gotten a little number here next to this little person icon. That is what's called the accessibility checker. Canvas has a built-in accessibility checker that is going to flag any potential accessibility issues that it sees. To fix them, you can click on the accessibility checker and it will pop out. And it will give you an opportunity to change any of these that you may want to change. And most of the time we want to change them, right? There are times though where maybe it's going to flag something that's not relevant, or it's reading something wrong, because it is a computer, right? So it's the accessibility checker is not going to prevent you from doing anything. It's not going to prevent you from showing this to students. I can go ahead and publish this page for students and have all those accessibility issues. It's not going to change anything. But I also want to review them just to make sure. So here you can go ahead and click on the accessibility checker, and then it will tell you, for example, the first issue that it found, table should include a caption describing the contents of the table. If I'm like, I don't get that, why is that a problem? I can actually click on this little question mark and it will give me more information and including a link. So it'll tell me that screen readers can't interpret tables without structure. So it's actually just a nice little learning tool as well. So you hit apply. Here it's telling me I need to set a table header. So I'm going to set the header row. Here I need to change the alt text. When I upload something, it's going to give you the file name as the alt text. And as you can see here, this file name is not going to give anybody any information, right? So I'm just going to change that. What I love about the accessibility checker is the ability to change it right here, so that I don't have to go back and figure out what it's trying to ask me. I can just fix it here. Once you fix all of your issues, you'll get these little balloons. They're very validating. But again, it's not going to prevent you from, it's just letting you know. Down here, earlier that we had a question about how you can edit or what this part means. So in Canvas, you can actually use pages as wiki pages. So if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to create a page and I wanted to, I wanted to have students add to it. Maybe I wanted to create a page called study tips and I wanted students to actually edit that page. So normally when we create pages, it's going to default to only teachers. That means only those with teacher roles are going to be able to edit this page. But if you wanted students to be able to edit it, you could change that to teachers and students. And now this page will be editable by students. And I can put it on a student's to-do list. So where it says add to student to do, I can put it on their calendar that they need to make sure they contribute to this page by this date. And that will go on their to-do list, which shows up on their course homepage and on their dashboard and on their calendar. And then here, if I want this to publish later on, let's say I'm going to add it to a module for a student, but I want it to publish at a later date. So here I would say, okay, I don't want this page to be visible until Friday. Actually, I'm having my students contribute on Thursday. So let's say it's not going to be visible till Wednesday. So I can add this to a module wherever students can access it, but they won't be able to actually see the content of this page until the date and time I put on there. See, it says will publish May 17th. Okay, we are going to have to skip the accessibility activity for now, just because we need to make sure that we get to our course flow. So we've created pages, and you may have noticed some of you had a lot of pages here already. I know I have a lot more probably than most people, but there's a lot of pages here already, but this is not user-friendly for students. Pages is hidden by default in your courses. That's what this little eyeball means. And that is why earlier when some of you were in student view, you couldn't find pages. Because for a student, imagine saying, go to pages and find Unit 1 notes, okay? I mean, again, anything that's going to give students a lot of effort is going to be difficult for them. And this is not in any sort of, this is just sorted by page title. So this is not in any sort of order for my course. So we hide pages from students. This is just like a filing cabinet of pages. The way that we actually deploy content to students is through modules. I already have modules. You may not have any here, but I created some already just to show you what they look like. And these are the modules that I had in my course. So modules are basically like folders of units or content items. So in my course, I organize my modules by week. You might do it by concept or by unit instead. This is just the way that I did it. And then I have a module here for course info and help. Students would come here and they would go to modules to find their information. So here I have a little folder of just course info. It has stuff like how to use office hours. It has the syllabus quiz, an intro quiz. And then I have my learning modules. This is how I organized it. You don't have to do it this way, but the basic idea is that you want to chunk your content. So whether that is by some sort of time frame, like a week, whether it is by concept or unit or chapter in your book or whatever it is, we are chunking our content the way that I'm sure you already do in your course. We're just setting this out for students visually. So for example, in week 1, the way I have it set up is I start by giving students, this is a page. So that was a page that I created. And it says, you can tell it's a page, it has a little page icon next to it. And this says, welcome to the course, blah, blah, blah. To navigate through, students click on next, and that moves them through the module. They can also just click on the items. But then I have this heading for the week 1 readings, and these are the things they're expected to read in week 1. And you can see here, I have some external links. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is a page. This is a file, external link, external link, external link, external link. Then I have a section for what they're going to be graded on that week. And then I keep assignments down here. I know some faculty members who like to do it if they're doing it by week. They have like a Monday section and a Wednesday section, or if they are doing it by unit, they might have a section for notes, a section for labs, a section for assignments, a section for readings. So there's different ways to set it up. The point is we want to stay consistent. So however we're setting up each one of these learning modules, we want to be consistent from week to week. This clearly week 2 is not a good example here, but having something where we have every week, we have a section, an introduction. We have a section for readings, a section for graded work, or a section for Monday and a section for Wednesday. That is just going to help create an experience for students that makes sense. My colleague Matt created this meme. If you're familiar with this Drake meme on things we want, things we don't want. We don't want our students coming into our Canvas course and I say, okay, in unit 1, first go to pages and find your notes. Then when you're done with that, go to assignments and look for this assignment. Then go to quizzes and look for this quiz. Then go to files and find the PowerPoint I uploaded. I don't want students having to do all that. Not only do I not want them to, they're not going to. That's too much hunting and pecking for them. So it's collected all here. So students don't do anything to learn in your course except go to modules. So to add to our modules, let's start a new one. I'm going to click on plus module to make a new module, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm just going to call this demo module today. And this lock until, if I want this module to not open until a particular time, so let's say the summer semester is going to start on the 30th. I don't want this particular module to be visible to students, or actually they'll see it, but I don't want them to be able to see and interact with any of the content until this date. I can go ahead and lock it until a particular date and even a particular time. So if I don't want it to students to do anything in this module until 8 a.m. on the 30th, we can set that up. Whenever you create a new module, it shows up here at the bottom. And right now it's unpublished. This little icon means that students can't see it. If I were to go into student view, which is how we preview things, students can't see anything inside of it. They can't see the folder, therefore they can't see the items inside the folder. So right now it's unpublished because it's empty. We wouldn't want to publish this because there's nothing in it anyway. For students, that would be confusing. The way that we add content to this module is by clicking on this plus button. Here, We're going to start with pages because that's what we already created. So we can add assignments, quizzes, files, pages, discussions, text headers, which are just dividers, external URLs, and external tools to our module. We're going to begin with pages because that's what we just did. So we are going to add a page to the module. And here I will see all of my pages, right? The ones that I just created. So I just made that Unit 1 notes. We made that together. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. And now Unit 1 notes is here. Notice that when I set that up, I set that to publish on May 18th. That's why it has this little icon here. I can also create a page directly from here. I can hit create page, give it a name, and it will add it. Now, notice I didn't actually go into the rich content editor and do anything. So if I add a new page from here, I still need to open it up, click on edit, and add any of my content the way that we just did. But you're basically building out your content in some sort of structured way. So you can also add assignments. Now, I know you haven't done an assignments training that is coming up for you, so you may not have any assignments here, but once you've created assignments, you can come in here and add an assignment. Assignments get this little icon. You can add files. So files are going to be, again, either uploaded items that you already had in your course, just like when we were adding them to a page. So, if you remember, I had that whole list of items. Here I have a page formatting guide Word document that I can add. So if I don't want to embed it in a page, I can also just upload the document separately. Quizzes. So these are the quizzes that already live in my course. So I can add one here or I can bring it in. Discussions, again, discussions that already live in my course that I can choose, or I can add one from here. Text headers are going to be those little text dividers. So when I scroll up and you see how I have a section that says, oops, where did it go? Graded work. That's a text header. It's just a divide. It's just a text divider. So I can go ahead and click that if I want to create something that says like notes or whatever. These items can be reordered. So these 8 dots will allow you to drag and drop them to different locations. You can also move them out of one module. You can move things out of one module and into another module. If dragging and dropping is not your jam, you can also click on the 3 dots over here and check move to, and it will allow you to move it that way too for accessibility. Modules themselves can be reordered. If I want this demo module above this module, I can just drag it. I can also click on those 3 dots and move it to the very top, the bottom, or after some other sort of module. So if I want to put it at the top, now it's at the top. So that is how I will build out my content. I know you don't have a lot of this content already, but I wanted you to see that this is how students interact with your course. It's also a great idea once you build out a module to test how students will experience it. So we talked about Student View earlier. Student View is a button that will live anywhere that students can access. So you're only going to see it in places that don't have this little crossed out eyeball. Student View allows you to go into your course as a student. It's basically creating a test or ghost student for you. You'll know you're in Student View because you're going to get a pink frame around your browser. See this pink frame that says you are currently logged in as to Student View. I have 2 options to leave it. Reset means it erases anything I did as this fake student. Leave Student View means I just go back to Teacher View, but I can come back to being this exact ghost student at a later point. So if I had, let's say, submitted assignments as a fake student, when I come back, if I click Leave Student View, I'm still that same student to interact with it. This is a great way to head off potential problems. For example, when I was in Student View, I could not see this demo module, even though it's at the top. So then I would need to investigate. Well, why can't I see it? Well, it's unpublished right now. So I'm going to click on this plus button to make sure that it's published. Anything that's in here that's unchecked is not going to be visible. So for example, I go back into Student View.
You don't know, buddy, huh?
You can see that it's currently locked because when I set up that module, I set it up to unlock on May 30th at 8 a.m. So now students can see that this module exists, but they can't actually interact with anything in the module until May 30th at 8 a.m. And I can still hide specific things individually. So if this definition readings quiz, let's say I didn't want them to know they were going to have a quiz, I would probably just manually unpublish that. And then when a student looks at it, they won't know that quiz even exists. See, they can't even see that the quiz exists until I go through and publish it. And then they can see the quiz exists, but they still won't be able to access it until the date that I have set aside for it. So we can control the students' access to the module by locking it until a certain date. We can also allow for prerequisites. So what that means is we can set it up, for instance, so that students can't move into week 2 until they have completed week 1 or any module before it. And those are called prerequisites. We also can indicate to students what is expected of them from each module. So you can see that here I have complete 1 item, complete all items. So those are called module requirements. They are optional. You do not have to use them, but it allows students to have sort of like a checklist. And the way you would do that is once you have a module built out. So let's say this is the module, I'm ready for it to go. You would go to the 3 dots, click on edit, add requirement. You can choose whether you're going to list a bunch of things and students have to do them all, or if you're going to list a bunch of things and they have to do one. Some people like to list everything that's in the module. And they say, okay, you have to view this, you have to view this, you have to do this. Some people like to just do the graded items here. It's totally up to you, but basically you're adding a requirement, something that's in the module and that something they have to do with it. So for pages, you'll see I have welcome to week 3, thesis statement workshop, and essay 1 peer editing. These are all pages. With pages, I have 3 options. I can require them to view the item, which just means they clicked on it, mark it as done, which means that at the bottom of the page, they'll get a little checkbox, or contribute to the page. Remember how we talked about teachers and students can edit pages? If it's a page that I want students to edit, I can require them to contribute to the page. And then I'll continue on. For files, my only option is view the item because it lives externally from Canvas. External URLs, same thing. Canvas can't track what happens outside of Canvas. So my only option for an external URL is view the item. So that just means they clicked on the link. Assignments, though, I have a couple of different options. They can view I can require them to view the assignment, to mark the assignment as done, to submit the assignment. I can also require them to have a certain score. You must have a score of 70 or higher to be complete in this module. Now, this is really only appropriate in times where they have multiple attempts, right? Because otherwise, students who got a bad score would just forever be incomplete in that module. Having module requirements allows you to track how students are actually doing in your course and what they have access to. So I'll show you what that looks like in one of my courses. I don't have students in your instance. So this is one of my courses, and you can see I have these module requirements. When I click on view progress, here are my students. And I can quickly look and see, okay, Kylo, week 1 and week 2 are unlocked for him. He's complete in all these others. Luke has a couple unlocked. You know, Ray has a couple unlocked. And so I can track how they are actually doing. You will always get this module progress or view progress button at the top. But if you don't have module requirements, it's not going to be useful to you because Canvas doesn't know how to determine if it's complete. Like I said, module requirements are optional. But what this does for students is it gives them a little checklist. So for example, because I have complete 1 item, and so there's these 2 items that I set as possible completions. And when students do them, they get a little check mark. Let me see if I can find one. I don't think my student has actually done it. So let's just click on this. And it'll tell them what they have to do. So notice that it says here view or viewed. And now I have a little check mark, and I have a check mark on this module. So that allows them to track their progress. Dawn asked about the option of posting YouTube videos into the course and making them module prerequisites. Yes. So if I had a YouTube video here, okay, so let's go to external URL and I'll just put in a YouTube video real quick. Grab one here. Relaxing music to remove. Relaxing music to relieve stress is what it suggested to me. Stress video. Okay, so I'm adding this external URL. So what I would do if I wanted this to be a prerequisite for the next module is I would go in here, I would click on edit, I would add a requirement, I would find that YouTube video, the stress video, require them to view the item. You can also require that they move through requirements in sequential order. So what that means is that students would not be able to access one item in the module until they did the next item that you require. So for example, I can set it up so that they have to complete week 1 recap before they complete unit 1 notes. If I wanted the stress video first, I could do that. So I would click on edit, requirements, stress video, then week 1 recap. And then I would check students must move through requirements in sequential order. And then what will happen is that students will not be able to move through one until they have done the previous one. Let's see if it's going to let me view it in student view. Yeah, I actually have a lock on that date. So let's unlock that date. So here, students have to click on that stress video. Notice they can't click on week 1 recap until they have done the stress video. Once they have, then I hit next, and then they can go on to the next item. You can also, again, make it so that the modules themselves are prerequisites. So I can go into course info and help, and I can click on edit, and I can add a prerequisite. You can only add a prerequisite for a module that is above it. So here I would click on demo module. That's the only one above it. And then in order for them to access this course info and help, they have to complete whatever requirements I have set up in the demo module. In order for prerequisites to work, you have to have requirements in that demo module. Anka asked about, do they have to watch the entire video to move to the next item? No, because like I said, Canvas can't track what's external. That's what Rob just said, because all Canvas can track is what the student did in Canvas. So they clicked on it. That's all Canvas knows. When you do learn about Studio, however, you can bring in YouTube videos to Studio, and you can actually require them to answer questions at certain points in the video. You can add annotations, and you can track how long they watched a video when it's brought into Studio. So that's something when you do your Studio training that you'll learn about. So if that's something you want, I wouldn't be linking your YouTube videos. I would be using putting them in Studio, and you're going to love that once you see that. All right, folks, we are having to move through this really quickly, and I apologize we don't have more practice time. A couple things that are important about when you're sorting out your modules, do use those text headers to break things up. As you can see here, having those headers makes it so much easier for students to navigate and sort things out. Then underneath headers, you can actually indent items. So by clicking those 3 dots, you can click increase indent, and then it will kind of set things off underneath the module just for visual clarity. So you can see here under learn, see how they have these items indented. That just helps. It's actually extraordinarily helpful on the mobile app, especially. I said earlier that I like to have my pages broken up into different, rather than doing all my notes in one page, I might do part of them in one page and part of them in another. Again, just for the ease of navigation, it just makes it a lot easier. I apologize that we don't have more time to practice locking and things like that, but it is really important that we got through that content. So I just did want to apologize that we did not have more practice time. I also wanted to point out that you can determine what's hidden from students, and it looks like it's already set up your course is already set up to hide most of the items. For instance, I don't want my students coming in and completing assignments from the assignments link because this is not useful to them. Any assignment I want them to do, I want it deployed through a module. So to hide anything that you don't want students to see, the way that you would control that is to go to settings in your course, navigation, anything that students are not going to need access to, you're going to want to drag down here to the bottom. So either because you don't want them to have access to it, or you don't think they're going to need it. For example, let's say you're not going to be using collaborations in your course. Drag it down to the bottom, click on save, and now collaborations will not be viewable to students. The fewer items that you have for students to choose from over here, the less chance that they are going to get lost and go into the wrong part of your course. The very last thing, I know we're at time, the last thing I wanted to show you really quick, syllabus. When you go to build your syllabus, it's the same at Rich Content Editor that we just learned about with Pages. So when you go to syllabus and you add or edit your syllabus, you can do all of the things that we just talked about with the Rich Content Editor and Pages. Same thing when you're creating discussion prompts, same thing. When students respond to discussion prompts, they get this Rich Content Editor as well. So you can leverage recorded responses to discussions, for example. Rachel put in the chat a link to sign up for future training sessions. I highly, highly, highly recommend that, especially the ones on Studio and the ones on assignments in the gradebook, which are going to be really, really crucial. But like I said, once you start working and setting up modules, and once you know how to use the Rich Content Editor, you're more than halfway there. So I encourage you, I know we went through the content quickly, but I encourage you to practice creating pages and also creating and adding items to modules.